and friendship. This is Sarah Brett, and this is Joseph Ogg, and I'm your host, Michael Coran. And we've been talking all summer, this is still summer, about the story of Abraham. And we're up to Genesis 17, but we'll give a brief summary, really brief. So, do you remember what was going on with Abraham before he heard this voice?
Before the voice, his brother had died in the eyes of his father. Are we going way back?
Yes, right before the face of his father. This is a tough family. You think we have tough families. And then what happened?
He ended up marrying his cousin.
Married his half-sister.
Half-sister.
And it might have been a forced marriage. And then what happened? What happened in this marriage? Anybody remember?
Well, there was a lot of turbulence.
And what was missing in the marriage? It was just making it so hard for them.
She was barren.
Yes, she was, and they blame her. For 10 generations, women were not mentioned, and when there's no child, it's the woman that's mentioned. And then it says his father died, but when we add up the arithmetic, we know his father just died in his mind. And then he hears a voice. And what's the voice tell him? Joe is good at this.
Well, the voice tells him that he has a promise. That he would be blessed with numerous, more numerous than the stars in the heaven, with children.
Wow.
And his seed would be blessed forever.
And he'd be a blessing. Yeah?
He'd be a blessing to the
And if
world.
anyone gave him a hard time,
They would be cursed.
they would lose the blessing. That might be the curse.
Yeah.
So he follows this voice he hears, comes to the promised land. What happens when he gets there?
He finds
These guys are great.
a
What?
king there. Was it a king?
Eventually.
Okay. Well, the tree.
Yeah,
at
he
first.
sees a tree,
Okay.
and it says he sees Hashem, or the nameless one, or the force. And I've been learning to love trees. I can feel it. And then what happens in the land?
I forget at this point.
So he gets water, right? Does he find water in the desert next to the tree?
He needs water, which is
Okay.
true, and they have to go to Egypt because there's a drought. And what does he say to your namesake when they're going into Egypt?
He is no longer married.
Yes.
Pretend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Pharaoh takes her, and what happens in the palace after Pharaoh takes? Oh, and Abram, what does Abraham get after giving away his wife?
Well, he gets a whole bunch of stuff.
Camels
Yeah.
and TVs, and Mercedes Benz. It was really
Cell
fun.
phones.
Yes. Oh, smartphones
Yeah.
even. And then there's what happens in the palace.
There's a plague that breaks out.
Yes, and so the king finds out. Oh, I've been sleeping with a married woman, and he kicks them out, but lets them keep all the goodies.
Yeah.
They go back into Canaan. What happens next? Very briefly.
His nephew
Yes, Lot.
Lot gets there's not enough land for the two
These
of
guys
them.
are great. Look at these. Yes.
So he says as much as he loves Lot, for Lot to go in the other direction.
Yeah, so Lot goes to Sodom, the big city. Why not?
You go your way, I'll go my
Go to
way.
the big city, Joe. Yes.
Yeah, he's having a good time. over
Yeah, Lot goes, and then
there. Las
Abraham hears.
Vegas.
Abraham, he often hears it when he's feeling empty. He lost his son, he even called him my brother. And then he hears the voice again say, walk the length and breadth of the land, and I will give it to your seed. So he seems to have, I don't know if you guys have, coming into him some kind of spirit when he's feeling down and out. When he's feeling empty, which I feel often. And he can open to the spirit. You do that, yes?
Yeah, in deep prayer, especially in dark times. I think that's the best time because it propels you forward. So it seems like Abraham's on this journey, right?
Yeah.
And then he's being called to a journey. He's not only finding himself in a journey, he's being called to a journey. And so in these ups and downs.
And I can feel that. We have a journey. Yes. You just went to nonviolent communication.
Mm-hmm.
It was a trip
Yeah.
to New York. Huh? Well, good for you. So he's reassured. Then Lot is captured, and he rescues Lot. And what happens at the ceremony after Lot is brought back? Do you remember?
A ceremony?
Yeah, there's
Oh,
a big
he,
ceremony. You know,
yeah,
you know
the
the
smoking pot. He is. The,
Not yet. You're almost there.
Almost. Okay.
There was a ceremony. You might know the name of the king, the priest king in Canaan.
Oh, he gave a tithe. He gave a tenth of all.
Yeah, but who did he
spoils.
give it to?
He gave it to the priest king.
Do I
Melech.
remember his name? Do I remember his name? Wow.
Yeah,
Molech.
not a Yahweh, but something similar.
Yes, what's the name of? Oh, this is a famous. My memory's going in my old age.
Melchizedek.
No, whoa.
Melchizedek.
Well, now Melech means
King.
king, and Tzedek means holy or righteous or right.
Righteous king.
So he gives him that, and then Melchizedek prays to the Canaanite god,
Yeah.
El Elyon God. And what does Abram do? It's an embarrassing moment. The Canaanite king is praying to the Canaanite god, priest king. What does Abram do?
He gives a portion to him.
And prays to his
Yeah.
God, Yahweh,
Yeah.
which could mean I will be who I will be, a God of hope.
Yeah.
And then after Lot leaves, he's feeling bad again. What happens? You were mentioning the pot and the
Oh, he gets there's a covenant between him and Yahweh.
so he gets deeper into whatever this voice or spirit. They now have an agreement, which is
That I believe that Yahweh took it upon himself to fulfill that covenant. But a covenant is two sides. So they slaughtered an animal. You walk through the two portions of the animal and says, "May this happen to me if I don't fulfill my obligations."
that'd be a good thing to do with our mothers. Slaughter an animal, slaughter a cow, or a chicken even. Walk through it, Mom. This is our covenant.
Fresh blood.
So then he's told out of his body he's going to have a child, which many of us want. What happens when he goes home and goes home to Sarai?
I don't think she believes him.
What does she say?
I think she laughs, right?
Soon.
Yeah.
What does she? Do you remember?
Well, I think she knows, he really wants a child. So she has a slave girl from Egypt.
Yeah.
And does she then tell him, you can have my slave girl from
Yes,
Egypt?
and you probably know the name. Yes.
Not Keturah, that was another wife.
No.
Hagar.
Right. Yes.
Hagar.
And so they make a child. Remember the name? Probably know.
Ishmael.
Yeah,
Ishmael.
Ishmael.
Yeah.
And when Hagar is pregnant, what happens? So this is like our family. So
He started being very mean to Sarai.
Yeah.
she's looking down on her.
Yeah.
I have a child. You don't. That's not a nice way to have something in your home. And Sarai complains to Abram. What does Abram say?
Abram says he doesn't want to let go of them. He doesn't want to let go of Ishmael or Hagar, but God tells him, I will take care of them. I will.
Oh, you a little bit. You're so
Okay.
you're
That
so
was a little
ahead.
further ahead.
You're
Okay.
good. You're good. What does Abram say?
He
to
says you can do what you want with Hagar
She's
to
in
Sarai.
she's in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
hands. And
Yeah.
Sarai abuses her, hits her.
Yeah.
What does Hagar do?
She runs away.
Yeah.
Pregnant
the
with
desert.
Abram's child. You'd
Yeah.
think this is not very nice of Abram, but maybe it's choreographed well. What happens to her in the wilderness, in the desert?
Well, she gets a visit by an angel.
Yes. And what does the angel say?
Angel tells her to go back, that
Go
she's
back.
having a son.
Go back, and she goes back, and
The
she
angel
gives.
does tell her the name of the baby too.
Yes, the name Ishmael, and she gives even God a name. What does she call God?
Is it Yahweh?
It was Yahweh,
Okay.
but this is an angel of Yahweh, and she gives God a new name. This woman, this slave woman, and gave God a new name. What does she
To
say?
Hagar?
Yes, this Hagar gives God a new name.
Oh, he hears.
He hears and
Yeah.
he sees.
He sees.
Also
Roi.
both.
Yeah.
You
Adonai
see?
Roi.
So isn't that great? We might not have had that at the beginning, but now we have a God who sees, which you believe in, yes?
Mm-hmm. He sees
God
our, sees our pain.
sees and hears our cries.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes back and gives birth. Apparently this worked.
Mm-hmm.
The family stayed together. Abram had the son. I like to think that Abram sent the messengers.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if they were angelic anyway. And that's pretty much where we left off. And the family manages for a while, for years.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to work. And then, and you didn't, you weren't here. You can start reading chapter 17 in Genesis. And all you people at home, you can follow us if you want. Genesis chapter 17.
Okay. Until when?
Oh, we'll tell you.
Okay.
Just start the beginning.
When Abram was 99 years old.
And we've learned to divide that in two, because there's two harvests.
To
So it's
equal.
he's really about 46, 47.
Okay. Okay, so about half, right?
Yeah.
Half age, so like something like that. All right. When Abram was 99 years old, according to the text here, but you said what, 66?
Divide by two, so it's
Okay.
about 47 and a half.
47. Okay.
Yeah. 49 and a half.
The Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless, that I may make my covenant between me and you and may multiply you greatly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, Behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father
Wow,
of...
so he's told Joe, you can stop there,
Mhm.
to walk. Just like you had the courage to go to New York.
Hmm.
Walk. And you've been in this place where you've gone to places.
Yeah.
But it says, walk before me and be whole is another way to translate it. And what does he do?
He falls flat in his face.
Yes, it's too hard to handle. I know it well. You know, you want to do something, you've got a resolution, and I just went to a gathering. I thought I could be just feeling love. It was so hard to be there.
Oh no.
And I left my book bag in Tony's. I hope it's there. But it's either there at the party, I hope. With my wallet in it. Okay, so any other comments, thoughts about walk before me and be whole? That's another
I
translation.
think that may refer to not being double-minded, not being... If he's going to walk and it says be blameless, so like it's not necessarily be perfect, be like, because nobody's going to be perfect. I think it has more to do with have integrity. It's like if you say you're going to believe me and you're going to walk with me, then commit to doing it, and then just go along this journey. Trust me along the way, no matter what happens. I think that's really more what it's saying, rather than say, well, be perfect. A lot of people will say, be holy, be holy, be holy.
What does it mean that he fell on his face then?
Sort of like he was humbled by the situation. He
I
saw
love
the
it. Yes, I
Yeah.
love it. Yes. And the spirit didn't hold it against him.
No.
And the interesting question, you guys might have been talking about it beforehand. There's this great creative energy, right? Let's say you're not, don't want to give it a name.
Mhm.
You know, that you can feel in the trees, or in our hearts, or our bodies.
Mhm.
Can that speak to us? It can? In what way?
It can speak to us through, I guess, our heart or our intuition.
Oh, yes. Something's moving us. You know that well. That's how you live, yes? You too or not?
Say it again.
You're moved by your heart and your intuition.
On the deepest level, yes, definitely. I do have my intellect, which gets in the way half the time,
And they have time it helps.
and half the time it helps to balance me.
Wow.
Right? To balance me, because if I'm led by my emotions, I'm gonna be self-deceiving. I'm gonna think something's one way when it's really not the other. When it's really the other way. But then again, I could get a big head with my intellect too. So it's I gotta try to balance that.
Can you give us an example of when you were trying to balance?
Like I do it every day. I try to do that every day where
Could you give us a very specific
oh
example?
yeah, this
a
week,
certain time and place.
yes.
What was happening?
Speaking about family and family issues
With who?
with my mother, that I have frequent issues with.
And where were you when you were talking with her?
Well, at home. At home, I live there.
Which room?
Well, in the kitchen or in the.
No, I want one time though.
Oh, yeah, this week.
But where were you?
Probably last Tuesday. I was in the kitchen. We were speaking, and it was an issue about she's trying to start a business, and I'm trying to help her with that. And I do lose my patience sometimes because I'm a very technological person. She doesn't understand all the technology stuff. So, but I try to say, look, I'm this way with everybody. I try to teach somebody the technology and they're not quite getting it. So what I will do is I'll give them tools to work with. I'll give them a website to look at. I'll give them a video to look at. And if it didn't seem to be good enough. So she sort of got jealous with me helping a friend of mine get her project together. And it was, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And at some point I says, you know what, I need to shut this down because there's too many emotions flying around. You can't think clear when there's a lot of emotions flying around, and you have to ground yourself in a greater reality. And the greater reality is that your perception and my perception are two different things. So you're going to say one thing and it's going to contradict yours, and yours is going to contradict their person, and it's just going to be a mess where you just need to shut down at some point and just say, I'm not even going to respond to this because reality is what it is. It doesn't matter what you think or I think. It is what it is.
Wow.
I took the nonviolent communication workshop, and that is very smart. They actually said pay less attention to the actual words and more attention to how you feel.
Right.
Because I do find when I have conflicts with people, I state my side, and there's often a twist. The person doesn't take ownership.
Yeah.
And I just get even more frustrated.
Right.
And I just think, wow, this person doesn't really care that much.
Mm-hmm.
They might not, but I think that's when you just have to cut it off.
Well, I think a lot of people, when they don't take ownership, they have to tear you down in order to level the playing field.
Exactly.
Right? Because if they're not going to take ownership of that, then they have to put more on you than on them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the psychology of the whole thing. But leaving, like nonviolent, turning the other cheek, what Yeshua, what Jesus said was, if someone takes something from you, you give twofold back, right? You just almost do the opposite with that, because if they're going to drag you into the fight over here, you got to go the opposite direction because, it's almost like, boxing, you got to kind of get out of the way, right?
And what is the opposite direction of someone saying, hey, you're not helping me? Why are you helping this other person?
The opposite.
What's the next? Yeah.
I would say the opposite direction is to not try to credit yourself with helping, right? So you gotta stay above that because they're gonna try to take you over here, and then the easy way out of that is to say, well, am I really even supposed to be helping you? Like you can't help yourself with this. I gave you the tools to do this. Why can't you just help yourself? So, and then she has taken pride in times when she's helped herself. And I said, oh, good for you. Right? You didn't even really need me. Why would you even really? Because I think people, above everything, need to be needed. And so when you're not needed, it's like, hey, that's an insult because what am I doing on this earth? Right? If I'm not helping you or you're not helping me, if I'm not important, then who am I? Right?
Well, you're going to do something. You're going, actually, at least promised you're going to try to change your life. That will be something. That's standing up for yourself in a nonviolent way. You don't have to say anything. You might have to endure a verbal storm.
Oh, I'm used to that.
Yes, you're used to that.
But anyway, well, yeah, I'm sorry you had a tough week.
Yeah. Well, it's something I'm quite used to with family, but of course at the end of the day you do try to get along, and there just comes a point where you have to focus on. I think you said this. You have to focus on your own growth rather than what the other person's. Because if that person never changes, then you're waiting forever.
Exactly.
You're waiting for nothing really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so read what happens next, Joe.
Okay.
And this is great though. He, despite the family situation, he just listened to his own he listened to the voice.
Mhm.
So it's good for him.
Well, the nonviolent communication says the heart of it is to begin with what you're feeling. And what you're feeling. So, what would you be feeling when your mother went in the room? Your private apartment. What do you feel? That would be the first thing. Find in your body what you're feeling. What if you're reliving it now? What do you feel?
Just anger, disrespect.
Well, anger is a feeling.
Yep.
Disrespect is more of a thought.
Right.
So,
Anger. We'll keep it at anger.
well, no, but when you think she's disrespecting you, what does that feel like? That's a harder question.
I know. What's nice is they give you a list of
Yeah,
feelings
list of
and
feelings.
needs, and I don't have
So
that
what does
list.
it feel like when I'm disrespected? I often feel hurt,
Get a slap in the face.
sad,
Just out of control.
man, maybe you feel
Uncontrollable.
Oh,
like
you
just
feel
very.
you've lost your self-control. Now that's not quite a feeling either, but I feel hurt, sad, frantic,
Maybe disillusioned.
uncentered, yes, all those things. And then the next question in nonviolent communication, NVC, is what do you need?
Harmony.
Yes, that's it,
Peace.
harmony and peace. Good,
Understanding.
right, and then they would say, you can do that if you want on the show or not. If you have all those feelings, they have a word jackal, which means like a jackal, at least this furry animal. It's in the, and so you really give yourself a chance out of compassion for you, caring for Sarah, to express not to your mother, but to a friend or yourself. You express the feelings to try to clear, because you're out of control, you're frantic. So you find a safe place, call your empathy buddy, you have Benny now, and really, and not just talk about it, but really get the feelings out. So the first one was sad, hurt. So you could get those out if you want. You don't need to do it on television. But that's what you would do. And not in your head, but in your body and heart. Oh, I feel. I just was at a party which was hard. If I often go to my head when it's hard. Oh, if I could feel, this is hard. I thought I would be having a good time and
Oh,
I'm
jeez.
confused. And if I bent, oh, Michael, it's me, put your hand on your heart. Have some compassion for yourself. You're trying. It's hard. You always hope you can go with the flow. And love will flow. It's not happening now. But it's good that you're wanting it. You can give yourself some strokes. Hold your empathy buddy, Sarah. Say, I'm having a hard time. You'll say, oh, tell me, what are your feelings? You can get them out. So that's the beginning. And after you get them out, you can do that with your mother too. What are your feelings?
I can say to myself, like when someone's trying to tear me down, I can make myself.
Oh, you're jumping ahead. You do just like me.
Okay.
The question would be, in your body,
Yeah.
what does it feel like?
More of like a disillusionment for me.
Well, that's a thought still. Is there sadness, anger,
I don't know if confusion is part of it.
confusion? You're going to say, yes, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so those, and you might maybe have tears because this has happened before.
Yeah, it's just frustration.
And frustrated,
Yeah.
yes. And you're not judging, these are just your feelings. It's important not to judge in this. Just get into your feelings. And then the next step is, what do you need? all our feelings according to nonviolent communication. And it's pretty clear what you both need. What do you need?
Peace, harmony,
Yes?
understanding.
Both, you too, right?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, you need
Not
actual
you,
you need
not
actual
Not
communication.
you, I.
Oh, I need to be able to control, self-control.
Yeah, so you're both close to this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So after we do this, one possibility, you could, which is interesting, we don't have time, so we'll have to do the next possibility, is to find a doable request. You've heard that, I'm sure. What can you ask of yourself, which you did, or the other person? They don't have to do it, but you can make a request. Would you consider? Or of yourself. You only have 50 seconds. What could you ask, Sarah, of either yourself or your mother?
Of myself, just doable request. I'd say honestly, taking a break from talking to my mother.
That too, and we made another one
Yeah.
to get a lot.
Yeah.
So in the last 30 seconds, Joe, you actually did a doable request to yourself.
Space.
Yes, I need some space now. So that's the beginning. You're very good, both NVC nonviolent communication students. And those steps are all important. You really have to get those feelings out and don't jump into, which I do, making a doable request. I've learned with doable requests, it's very good to say, for me, would you consider?